Being different isn't always a bad thing. The world would be a boring place if everyone acted the same way. And while we often hear about alpha and beta males, there's another type that doesn't get as much attention because they prefer to stay under the radar: sigma males. These individuals are mysterious, independent, and often misunderstood. While not looking for the spotlight, their actions and habits tend to confuse people. Here are 11 strange sigma male habits that often leave others scratching their heads. Number 1. They can get easily annoyed. Many people think of sigma males as calm and collected, but that doesn't mean they don't get annoyed. They have a low tolerance for unnecessary or irrelevant things and can easily get irritated when someone wastes their time or disrupts their peace. However, instead of making a big scene about it, they tend to internalize their frustrations. But sometimes, they can come out in small, subtle ways that might confuse others. It's not about losing control of their emotions. It's about valuing efficiency and detesting unnecessary complications. Sigma men have a unique way of seeing the world. They're all about straightforwardness, and when they encounter situations or people that beat around the bush, it irritates them. This might seem odd to some, but for Sigmas, it's more about respecting their time and energy. Now, this is where things get a little confusing. Most often, people perceive their annoyance as impatience or being overly sensitive. However, these individuals thrive on autonomy and simplicity. Their annoyance is usually triggered by what they perceive as unnecessary deviations, be it inefficient processes, overcomplicated plans, or even people who consistently fail to get straight to the point. To the outside world, it might seem strange, but for Sigma males, it's just their way of trying to keep things simple and efficient. Number 2. They don't always enjoy being praised. Receiving praise and compliments can make many people feel good about themselves. It's a universal sign of approval, an indication that you're doing something right. Surprisingly, however, not everyone relishes being in the spotlight of commendations. Sigma males often shy away from praise. This isn't because they don't appreciate recognition or have low self-esteem. They have a deep sense of self-worth, but prefer their accomplishments to speak for themselves. They believe actions are louder than words, and they don't need external validation to feel successful. This quirk often leaves people scratching their heads. Why would anyone sidestep the applause in a society that thrives on recognition and rewards? But that's the essence of a Sigma male. He marches to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't rely on the approval of others to gauge his success or worth. This might seem strange to many, but to Sigma, it's just a part of his independent and self-sufficient nature. He doesn't need constant validation from others to feel good about himself. Number 3. They can be perfectionists, but it's not always obvious. Perfectionism tends to quietly simmer beneath their cool exterior. They have this inner drive, a compelling need to get things just right. But it's not always on display. They don't boast about it, and it doesn't manifest in a constant stream of meticulous details or obsessive behaviors. It's just a quiet pursuit of high standards that they set for themselves. Now, why does this leave people confused? Well, it's because the perfectionist tendencies of these individuals don't follow the typical overt patterns we're used to seeing. They aren't the type to obsess over every tiny detail in a public manner. They put immense pressure on themselves in private, working tirelessly to achieve their standards, often without anyone else knowing. People may see them as laid back or carefree based on their exterior demeanor, failing to see the intense inner drive and meticulousness. This can lead to misunderstandings and misinterpretations, but just because it's not obvious doesn't mean it's not there. They may choose to reveal it selectively, adding yet another dimension to their enigmatic nature. Number 4. They have strong emotions, but they keep them hidden. While many people wear their hearts on their sleeves, others choose to keep their emotions closely guarded. Even though Sigma males may come off as stoic and unbothered, they actually have intense emotions that they prefer to keep hidden. They don't readily display them for the world to see. It's not about building walls or bottling emotions. It's more about preserving their private, independent nature. This might leave people puzzled. We live in a world that often encourages emotional expression, whether it be through social media or open conversations. So when someone remains emotionally reserved, it can be hard to understand. But for Sigmas, it's not about denying their emotions. They simply prefer to process their feelings independently. Sharing their inner emotional world with others is not something they do lightly. This may leave others confused or even frustrated, but it's not a sign of coldness or indifference. It's just how Sigma males navigate their emotional landscape. Number 5. You don't see them smiling much. It might surprise you that smiling isn't a universal habit. You don't often catch a Sigma with a wide grin on his face. This doesn't mean he's unkind or unhappy. He tends to be selective about when and where he shares his smiles. Expressing joy is a deeply personal thing, not necessarily a social tool. He believes that not every situation calls for a smile, making his moments of joy more genuine and meaningful. This habit can leave many people confused. We often associate smiling with warmth and friendliness, so when someone doesn't smile readily, we can assume they're cold or detached. But that's not the case. Sigma men are just more inward in expressing emotions, choosing to smile when it truly reflects their inner state. It might seem odd to some, but to Sigmas, it's simply a matter of authenticity. They don't fake emotions for the sake of societal expectations. They express them genuinely when they feel is right. Number 6. They're highly selective about friends. Making friends is not a numbers game for everyone. Some individuals take a highly selective approach when it comes to friendships. Unlike alpha males who would make friends with anyone and everyone just to boost their social status, Sigma males are more intentional with their friend choices. They may not have a large circle of friends, but the ones they do have are genuine, loyal, and trustworthy. They are notoriously picky regarding their inner circle, taking friendships seriously and investing in them deeply. Some people may be confused, thinking that the number of social media followers or friends often serves as a status symbol. That's why many may perceive these individuals as antisocial or aloof. However, Sigma men are simply cautious about who they let into their private world. They hate small talk and superficial connections, so they prioritize quality over quantity when it comes to friendships. It might be a different approach, but having a few close friends is much more fulfilling than having many shallow acquaintances. They value meaningful connections and authenticity in their relationships. Number 7. They might quickly walk away from a situation. Sometimes, an abrupt exit is the best solution. This seems to be the mantra for Sigma males when they find themselves in a situation that doesn't align with their values or interests. Instead of sticking around and making a fuss, they're more likely to swiftly remove themselves from the scene. It's not about being rude or dismissive. They are just highly attuned to their comfort zones and respect their need for autonomy. While this behavior may seem confusing to others, Sigma men just see it as an efficient way of handling things. They don't feel the need to justify their actions or explain themselves. They simply do what feels natural for them. It might not be the most socially acceptable approach, but it's just their way of getting rid of any unnecessary stress or discomfort. They know their limits and aren't afraid to listen to their intuition when it's time to walk away. This can be confusing for those who try to please everyone and keep the peace at all costs, but not everyone operates in the same way. Sigmas have their own unique approach to life, even if it may not always make sense to others. Number 8. They are always thinking, making them seem distant and uninterested. These individuals are often perceived as distant or uninterested because they're constantly deep in thought. Their minds are always churning, thinking about new ideas, solutions, life's mysteries, and more. They're like detectives of their own lives, always looking for clues, always seeking understanding. This can make them seem aloof or detached, but it's just their natural state of being. They're not being rude or dismissive, they're just engrossed in their thoughts. Just like their emotions, these men prefer to process their thoughts independently. They don't feel the need to share every detail or idea with others, and they're not fond of small talk. This can make them seem distant or uninterested in conversations that don't stimulate their minds. But when someone engages them on a passionate topic, they come alive and can surprise others with their depth of knowledge and insight. Sigma males are not purposely trying to distance themselves from others. It's just who they are. They value their internal world and give a lot of time and energy to exploring it. This can confuse those who thrive on constant social interaction, not understanding how someone can enjoy being alone with their thoughts. Number 9. They prefer solitude. There's a difference between solitude and loneliness. While loneliness comes from isolation and longing for connection, solitude is a deliberate choice, a conscious retreat into one's own space. Think of it like this. You have a phone that needs charging. You plug it in, give it some time, and it's ready to roll. For Sigma males, solitude is their charging station. It's where they regain their strength, clarity, and focus. You might observe them at a gathering, quietly observing, taking it all in. Don't mistake their solitude for arrogance or indifference. It's about self-sufficiency, recognizing that external validation isn't necessary to define their worth. It's a strength that not everyone grasps. These individuals also have a knack for keeping their thoughts to themselves. While others may openly share their every emotion, Sigma males are a bit more reserved. They are not emotionless. They simply choose to reveal their feelings selectively. The confusion arises mainly from a misunderstanding, a misconception that solitude equates to loneliness. That's not the case. It's simply about enjoying their own company, valuing their thoughts and personal space, which allows them to navigate life more self-reliant. Their solitary nature doesn't signify a lack of social skills, but a desire for self-growth and reflection. Number 10. They don't need a companion to feel complete. Some people find it hard to understand that a person can feel whole and satisfied in their own company. The confusion stems from a societal view that equates completeness with companionship. For many people, the thought of being okay without a partner is kinda strange. But people are different, and what works for one might not work for another. Sigma males' sense of completeness comes from within, not from an external source. They derive satisfaction from their own achievements, inner peace, and self-growth, which may not necessarily align with society's typical view of fulfillment. Of course, this doesn't mean they don't value relationships and connections. It just means they don't need them to feel complete. Number 11. They avoid any kind of small talk. Small talk, for many, is just the ebb and flow of daily interactions. But it's an entirely different story for Sigma men. They see small talk as superficial chatter, lacking in depth and significance. It's not that they're incapable of participating in lighthearted banter or exchanging pleasantries. Quite the contrary, they can, but they choose not to. They yearn for conversations that stimulate their minds, discussions that delve into topics of substance, and pique their intellectual curiosity. This aversion to small talk can often confuse people who find these exchanges a normal part of social interaction. They may interpret this behavior as disinterest or aloofness, adding to the enigma surrounding Sigma males. It's not a personal slight, neither is it an indicator of poor social skills. Sigma men value interaction quality over quantity, preferring meaningful dialogue over trivial chatter.